Hey everyone, I'm Quentin Morbow,
I'm Sophie Stinnett.
I'm Morgan Mickelson.
I'm Jared Samuels.
and today we're bringing you the 10th episode of What's Behind the Game, where you'll get an exclusive look at how all your favorite athletes eat, train, and anything else you'd like to know. Today on the show, we have Ross Detwiler. Ross was a first round pick in the 2007 draft of the Washington Nationals and has pitched in the major leagues for 10 years and most recently was in the Seattle Mariners organization. So, everybody, let's welcome Ross.
Hey, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
We're good. Thanks for coming on the show. Morgan, you want to start us off?
Yeah. So how did everything start? Like, how did you get into playing baseball?
Well, I have two older brothers. One that's 5 years older, the one that's 8 years older. They played when I was growing up, so I was always around the baseball field and always wanted to do whatever they were doing. So I think I was just being around it. My dad coached for a little while, coached their teams, so I was just always around it and always wanted to do what they did.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, did you feel any pressure, like as a first round pick of the Nationals?
Well, the Nationals, we weren't very good back then, so there wasn't too much pressure. But no, I don't think there was any extra pressure, but obviously I don't know anything different. It's just kind of, it's always been, you try to simplify things and that makes it easier. It's just been baseball to me.
Yeah. So, yeah, how would you help a young athlete when it comes to their ups and downs of transitioning into professional baseball?
Really don't read anything that anybody else writes about you. Just go out there, try to simplify things. Just make it about baseball and not about everything else, because it's easy to get caught up in everything else. And I mean, if you're worried about what people are writing about you online, if you're worried about what people are saying about you, then you're not focusing on what you need to focus on. And that's just me, is just getting people out as a pitcher.
Yeah. So when you're focusing on the game, but you have to focus also on strength and nutrition, what role does that play in your training?
I think that's huge, especially to try the baseball season. What's 180 days long, and you're playing 162 major league games in there. There's so much stress on your body. I mean, you break down throughout the year. So if you don't have a great off season, if you don't have strength and conditioning, and also if you're not eating right, you're going to break down early. You're going to get a lot of injuries throughout your career, and it won't be that long.
I can make a break.
So, Ross, how do you work on the mental side of the game? Everyone knows that baseball is such a mental sport. How do you just kind of prepare yourself for every game, or mentally? What do you do to help yourself?
Yeah, I think that actually goes back to the first question about trying to put extra pressure on yourself and just really reading about what other people are saying. That it's a huge part of the mental game that you can just cut out and make it a lot easier. And if you can focus on the one thing, like the task at hand, and it makes it just so much easier, because there's a lot of stuff out there that you can get caught up in that kind of deters you from your overall goal.
Yeah.
Understandable. So, Ross, you had a little bit of a stressful spot start for the Mariners this year. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how do you
I'll walk you through that day. I actually haven't really talked about it that much to anybody, but it was pretty funny. It was a start day in Tacoma in AAA, which is about half hour, usually about an hour with traffic, away from Safeco, where Seattle plays. And I get to the field a little later. I'm supposed to start in Tacoma. I get a little later than I normally would. I get there about 3:45 for a 7 o'clock game. And I walk in, put my stuff down, and the manager pulls me to the side and says, "Hey, this is what's going on. As soon as I get the phone call, I'll let you know, and you're going to have to get your ass up there." So I was like, all right, we'll see. He comes back to me about 10 minutes later, and he said, "Hey, they called, get your stuff packed, and you got to get going, 7 o'clock game." And now it's about 4:15. We're hitting rush hour time, and I'm trying to get all the way up to Seattle in an Uber. So, yeah, so that's
control, and you're just tapping your fingers.
Yeah, I'm in a car, in the back of a car. Somebody else is driving me there. I'm calling my wife. I'm calling my parents, saying, "Hey, this is what's going on." And then once I tell everybody, I'm just sitting there. Now I'm
Yeah.
got about a half hour left to think about the rest of my day.
Now you wait.
Yeah, and now we wait. So got there, probably sweated through my shirt on the way there. Just a little nerve-wracking. It had been a little while. So I get there, I walk in, and they tell me, say, hey, I think it was Vincent is going to actually start, throw the first inning, and then you'll come in after him. So I'm like, oh, okay. So it takes a little pressure off, but
Yeah.
I was able to get in a locker, get dressed and kind of have my normal routine. I don't really have much routine anyway. I just kind of go with whatever's going on. So I think that helps a lot. Some pitchers you see have like 3-4 hour routines, and that wouldn't have worked for me that day. So I think having a shorter routine really helped me.
Yeah.
Definitely.
How do you work on, in terms of drills, your power as a pitcher, your velocity? How do you improve that?
I mean, my velocity has been going down every year as I get older, so I'm not sure I'm really the one to ask about that. No, it's you have to work a lot of the smaller muscles in your shoulder, and it's not only for velocity, but it's for your health's sake, to keep your shoulder strong. Play some long toss. I think the long toss really goes into the command as a pitcher too. You're seeing a lot of younger guys throwing a lot harder, and I think that they're really putting together good long toss programs, and then they're getting in the weight room and working the right muscles.
What do you do in terms of your control? So you have the power and then also the control. How do you work on your, and then even in the game, like let's say you're not feeling it that day, how do you approach that situation?
Yeah, it's kind of it depends on the situation really. But everything's kind of tying in together with the mental part, with your control. For me, between starts, if I don't play long toss, I'm not going to have control. So I have to control the ball from about 150 to 200 feet out, and really get behind it and feel it coming off my fingertips. And if I do that, I know I'm going to have control in the game. But say my control's off a little bit in the game, and you just have to bear down and find something that works, whether it be your curveball that day and you're just going to throw a ton more curveballs than you normally do, whether it be your changeup, try to get them off balance. And hopefully you got a little command in the fastball. You're not falling behind in the counts. And that's when you're just throwing up there and kind of ducking out of the way and hope not get hit by a comebacker.
Yeah.
Right. So Ross, how do you approach a good start from a bad start? So let's say you have 3 good starts in a row, and then here comes a bad start. Kind of how do you approach that and fix it?
It's funny about that is the good starts seem to kind of fly by, and I can still remember some of my bad starts, like pretty much pitch by pitch, and like knowing what I would do differently. And then you try to think about the good starts, and they're just like a blur to you. Yeah. So you kind of, it's easier if it's just one bad start, but say you're having a couple bad starts in a row, like when I was with Texas, all of them. So it kind of, each one, the first one, it's easy to kind of roll off your shoulder. And then the second one, you're like, oh, okay, well, I have to be better the next one. And then if it starts snowballing on you a little bit, you have to find some way to kind of hit the reset button for yourself and start over.
So how do you handle the stress, if there is any, of changing locations and teams? Like, how do you set yourself up for that? How do you prepare for that?
You mean like the travel or I mean, it's all I've ever known, whether it be summer ball in high school, all the way to college, and then in pro ball, obviously you're playing some like 2-3 cities a week. So it's I think you just kind of get used to it. I don't know any other way. If I'm at home for too long of a period of time, I start getting restless and I have to start moving around and figure something out. Yeah.
What was your favorite organization to play for so far?
Any organization I was winning with. If we had a winning team, it was a lot easier and a lot more fun. Especially in Washington, 2012, we were the best team in the major leagues record-wise. And that was just so much fun because the whole city was getting around us. You will go out to dinner, you go out to lunch or something, and people are like, "Oh, the game was great last night."
That's awesome.
People on the streets just saying hi to you and stop you, wanting to talk and everything, and that was really cool. And then we went to the playoffs, and we ended up playing the Cardinals, and it was just so much fun. It's so different than any other baseball I've ever played, and it's so loud. And I mean, it was awesome. Except we lost in Game 5, and I went home.
Yeah, but that hype probably like changes your mindset completely. Like puts you in a whole different like.
Yeah, and it's like indescribable. You can't even sit here and try to describe it because people just won't understand unless you're there. I got to go to a couple playoff hockey games, and it's kind of that sort of atmosphere, but a little more once you're involved in the game.
Yeah.
So, do you like study other pitchers, like going?
Yeah. So when my time in Washington, I go up to because I don't like watching myself on TV. I don't like I won't rewatch my starts or anything. So I'll rely on the video guy to give me somebody to watch, and hopefully in our league that pitches against a team I'm going to pitch against, and I'll actually go watch them instead of watching myself because I just pick everything apart about it, and I ended up screwing myself up more than I was before.
Okay, so you don't like watching yourself on tape, but you'll just like go and watch like opposing teams, and that's like kind of how you make yourself.
Yeah, like I couldn't turn around and watch this podcast because I don't want to see myself on it.
You can listen to it.
Yeah, I don't want to hear my voice either.
Yeah, that's my big problem. Good.
This is the last question we ask everybody. If you could go back and like talk to your younger self, what 3 pieces of advice would you give to yourself?
All right, 3 pieces of advice. Dang, that's
Or just like anything in general. Like if you could give any athlete advice, what would it be?
All right. Well, I would have definitely, if so. When I was in high school, they were telling everybody play as many sports as you can, and then I guess within the last 10 years, everything's like sport oriented. So I would say definitely spread it out. Don't get burned out on one sport. Which I played 3 sports in high school until my senior year, and then I started playing fall baseball, getting ready for the draft, which I didn't get drafted, so it didn't help much. I could have used one more year of football and basketball. I'd always heard, stay in school. School is going to be, a big thing for you. And I kind of blew it off. Didn't actually try my hardest all the time at school. I didn't really see the purpose in it until now. So that would be a huge thing I would tell myself back in high school. It's like, this stuff really does matter, and it's really going to help you. I always thought I was going to play baseball, and I think the school would really help me in baseball too.
Yeah.
And then if I could talk to my younger self, the strength and conditioning and the nutrition and all that didn't really come into play until I was about 3-4 years into pro ball already. Then people were getting real big on it because there was nothing. They wouldn't even hardly feed us anything in the minor leagues when I was first starting out. Now you see the spreads they're getting, and it's unbelievable. They're eating 3 meals a day at the field, and all we had was like the same sandwich every day my first year, and it was only a 6-inch sub from Subway or Publix or whatever. So I would definitely go back and fix the nutrition part of myself when I was younger, and really focus on doing the same kind of workouts and getting a routine together a lot earlier.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. At least you're aware though now. Some people are like, that never mattered, but
right, yeah, but it seems like I'm at the end now, and that's when I become aware of everything.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Ross. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
I did want to add something. I thought this was funny because you said being in the city when y'all were on a winning streak and stuff. So congratulate you and talk to you. I don't know if y'all saw that. There's like a bunch of talk about the Saints right now that all the crime is down in New Orleans, but it's like who has time for crime when they're winning so much?
That's awesome.
It's really funny because they're all on the same team, so it's like everybody's rooting for the same team. I thought it was
it's something for the whole city to get around in the city.
Yeah.
Everybody's watching, and everybody, everybody's friendlier because they have a common thing to talk about.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what it's like in Lubbock too. Nobody knows anything other than tech, so we can all agree on that. But thank you again. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Ross, thank you again, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, go kill it next year, and good luck, man. We're rooting
Cool, I
for you.
appreciate it.
Awesome.